Hey, everybody. Welcome so much tonight. Looking forward to just having a quick chat, a really informational session around precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. We're just going to talk a little bit about some history, some background, and then give you the opportunity to hear a little bit about a company that we think is front and center for people acquiring precious metal savings in the current economy. So we will fire right up and get started. And for those of you that are not familiar with me, my name is Shelley Barnaby, and I have been working in the precious metals sphere. Like my husband and I started saving um, in gold and silver, like way back in the 1990s. And that turned into, like, at first it was a little hobby. I kind of added to it because my grandpa had given me coins and I loved that, right? And I mean, I'm old enough, you guys, to be from the era when piggy banks didn't have a way to get the money out, right? Like these cute little, you had to like break them. And I think because of that, like these really special coins that I got from my childhood that went in a bank like that, they stayed there because it was such a big deal to take them out. It felt like that tangible part, and it came from people in my family. So I just paid attention. And because of that, we ended up working in that industry, selling first seven figures, then eight, then nine, and being able to really make a tremendous income and have a huge team of people that were doing that same thing. And that company eventually was international, and especially as it got into COVID, experienced a ton of issues with shipping and stuff like that. And so ever since about 2019, we have been on the prowl to be able to again find an opportunity for people to bring people into metal savings because it's been such a great thing for us. And we turn down lots of companies. So just so that you know, we have dug around in this industry for so long. And you won't see my husband Jim on the screen, but he spends his days doing the research. He just lets me come on and pretend I know what I'm talking about, but he is behind the scenes, like full time, looking into this stuff all the time. So, and I love to start with this because I do think a good man and woman leaves an inheritance to their children's children, right? Like that to me is what precious metals is about. It isn't so much like you'll find people who will talk about it from an investment standpoint, but I want you to know right out of the gate, that's not as much me. I'm about legacy money. Like in my ideal world, what happens to the precious metals that I accumulate is that I divide them up among the my children's children, and they just get passed on to the next generation like my grandpa's silver got passed to me. So that's just my view on it. Yours might be different, and we'll talk about that. There are lots of experts that weigh in for a very, very long time. JP Morgan is the founder of like Morgan Chase Bank, and he always said gold is money, everything else is credit. They considered gold was the real money. Robert Kiyosaki, if you haven't heard of him, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, he thinks silver may be the best possible way to build wealth. And some of these quotes are very, very old and still super timeless in the marketplace today. And other reasons, I'm not going to go into all of these at great length today. You can always snap a photo if you want to. You can always, oh, did somebody say screen sharing wasn't working? You can always snap a photo of any of these and we can talk about them more at length. But I want to just kind of each time I'll probably hit on a couple different ones, show you some slides, but we all can see there are tons of global uncertainty right now. Inflation is definitely winning the game. Central banks are all printing money at an unprecedented rate. They call that quantitative easing. It's like the core of what's causing so much inflation. So many people are talking about how their housing prices, their grocery pricing, that's just feels unsustainable to people. We see that paper currency may be a thing of the past if you've looked at anything into how it's going digital, right? Imagine not having a tangible, physical way to hold your money. And we have lasting effects of the pandemic, of the supply chain issues. All of those are still affecting our global economy and kind of puts us all in handcuffs, right? And so the reason, let me show you a couple of things about how precious metals solve some of those issues. Having a physical, tangible asset, something that you can touch and hold. Mine isn't next to me. Jeremy's probably is. He loves to hold on to it. That's time tested, right? Like even little kids know that silver and gold are money. And it's a hedge against inflation. It means it stores the value of the work that you have completed right now. And I'm going to show you a little bit visually how that works. It's so easy to understand. It tends to be much more stable than any of your other investments during times of uncertainty, like political uncertainty, economic uncertainty. Like this is a visual of inflation, right? And it's not even completely up to date, but those carts are an example of what the same $20 from 1998 to 2008 to 2018. Can you imagine what $20 might buy in 2028? Maybe one item. I don't know, and so that helps us. But if you had that same $20 worth of gold held over time, your cart would be overflowing, right? So that's how gold acts as a hedge against inflation over time. As goods and services go up, paper money decreases. So an example of that would be like right now today, if we were thinking about 10 years into the future, would you rather today that I gave you $10,000 in paper money or $10,000 in gold or silver? Because what that gold and silver will buy 10 years into the future is far more than a declining dollar. That's what we have. The way to think about that is imagine something that you bought today or something that, that you buy regularly and think about what that cost 10 years ago. For me, I always do this in terms of hamburger, you guys, which is I raised a lot of kids. And when my kids were growing up, hamburger was $1 a pound. No longer true. And so what will that be in the future? And so that's how I think about what inflation really means to us, is that the same money buys less and less. On gold and silver, on the other hand, are a total store of value. They are stable with pricing over time. So what that really means is, like, look at the Model T there up to the Ford truck. From 100 years time, in 1920, that would have cost you a kilo of gold. At the time, that was $645, that kilo of gold. But if you had tucked away that kilo of gold, or you could have tucked away $645 for 100 years and went to buy another Ford truck, you could have done it for $50,000 in 2020, a base model for 1 kilo of gold. But what would happen if you had saved the $645, right? It wouldn't have, even with interest, you wouldn't have, if you didn't add to it and accounting for like crashes and stuff like that, it's just so much more unlikely that you would have held that same value. Same with silver. You can, I knew, Jeremy, I did this for you because it's cars, right? And so if you look at silver, same thing. The average price from 1950 to 2020, you would have had almost the exact same number of ounces of silver to buy roughly the same thing. And the super interesting thing about this is that that's even true if you go back 2,000 years. And we've done the research around that. So that's price stability, that store of value stays the same over hundreds and even thousands of years. The other thing that I think personally is so important around precious metals is that the mindset shift that it gives you. Think of it this way. There are only about 1% of people in the entire global population of 7.5 billion people, only about 1% own precious metals. Okay. But if you cull out the top 1% wealthiest people globally, 100% of them own precious metals as part of their portfolio, as part of their diversification. And so I think of it as like a mindset thing. You can get your package, have your first silver delivered, and you make an immediate upgrade into the 1%, right? I don't know any other way to shift yourself into the top 1% that quickly. It also gives you, the nice way to say it, protection from too much liquidity. I call it like saving yourself from yourself. When you go on a hardcore training program and diet, you don't get a job at a candy store. And so when you save in paper dollars or digital dollars, how easy of it is it to, walk into shop somewhere and have like a shiny moment, and you quickly on your phone just transfer from that emergency fund right back into checking, right onto your card. You're using it right away. But the very interesting thing for us personally that we found is that no matter what kind of disaster you go through, whether it's a job loss, whether it's a natural disaster, it's very interesting how likely you are to hold on to your physical, tangible gold and silver assets. And it's not just me. I've seen it time and time again. My friends who've had a fire, people who have lost their employment, they will go borrow against their 401k. They will use up all their paper assets. And the last thing to go is precious metals. And that makes it feel like you will never be broke again. I have heard that so many times over the years from people who had so much trouble saving. They would have this pattern of they'd save a little, spend it all, save a little, spend it all. And there's just something about breaking that pattern once and for all that allows you to accumulate wealth, not just in precious metals, but across the board. We've seen that with other things too, like when you make that shift, that total pattern shift, that total paradigm shift, it means good across the board. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen evidence of that. So as far as like whether or not you should get silver or gold, or should you get coins or bars or bullion, the short answer to that is yes. There are some strategies around that. I always think diversification is a big part of the key. Have lots of different things and have the things that appeal to you. That's part of the fun of it too, right? When you start looking at what's available, there can be some really fun things that you might want to save in. We have an automatic savings program that chooses the silver coin that is typically and historically has the greatest buyback, has the greatest potential for investment. And I think that should probably be the bulk of things. But within that, you can look at what are the markets doing, personal considerations for you. I used to be in a gold company, so I tend to have lots of gold and less silver. Because of that, what am I doing right now? I'm upping my silver game. That kind of is when you see here where I have the think about the 8-to-1 rationale. What that's about is there are people who believe, and I'm not sure if I'm one of them or not, but when God made the world, he made 8 times more silver than gold. That's how much more gets mined. That's how much more is in the ground, theoretically speaking. And so a lot of people think having 8 times more silver than gold is the way to go. I'm probably I'm way upside down right now. But the difference between bullion and coins and numismatics, like if you've never heard that word before, numismatics is just a really intellectual way of saying collectible coins. Coins that are valued beyond just the amount of gold or silver they contain. They might have an interesting marking. They might be an interesting coin. There might be something rare about them. There are certain years that for whatever reason, coins become more collectible than other years. But what's interesting about precious metals as an asset class is you get both, right? As long as you're collecting coins, you have the value of the metal itself and potentially the numismatic or collectible value as well. That said, I'm somebody who really does believe in like having a lot of different things. So I also have, like bars and bullion. And, bullion means marked coins or bars that show how much precious metal is in them, but they aren't tradable as money with a certain government. Does that make sense to you all? I hope so. If not, we can talk more about that if needed, but ultimately we're looking at the value anyway, right? I will say about volatility, because silver is used more in industrial applications, silver can be a little more volatile, meaning its price goes up and down quicker. Gold is the more stable, but obviously the far more expensive as well. Like gold, it's a lot more per ounce. So the business model with the company we're working with, they developed relationships with the largest market makers in both bullion and coins. They have all of their own networking software, which I don't usually talk about this a ton, but I want to say to you, here's why that's so important, right? What if like you had a business and all of your contacts were on social media and you didn't have a separate email list, you didn't have access, somebody else owned your list? You wouldn't really own your business because your business is the people that you're working with, is your clientele. And so within this business, they own all the software, they own everything. Everything is in-house, and that is pretty important. The other thing they do in this model is rather than go out and spend a ton of money advertising, they let it be done by the people who are their best customers, right? That's what affiliate marketing is. And all of you may not know it, but you're all affiliate marketers. Every time you tell somebody about a great movie you saw, a terrific restaurant you went to, some new product that you love, that's what affiliate marketing is. And when you get paid for it, it's even better. So the thing I love about this company, they really know how to anticipate growth in this marketplace. They took a long time. We went and met with the CEO last December, spent about 4 hours really asking a lot of hard questions based on our 8 years with a German company. We saw what went right. We saw what went wrong. We brought, really tens of thousands of people into that business. So we had a lot of experience of knowing what would work and what wouldn't. And so we really tried to throw the book at him, and we were really pleased to see that he had anticipated. They have so much experience that they anticipated everything that we could even think to ask them. So Very seasoned ownership. They've been in this industry for decades, right? And the thing that's so awesome is for the first time ever, I'm seeing the opportunity for us to have true at cost pricing on precious metals. And I'm going to tell you in a minute what that means. These valuable numismatics or collectibles that people can also get, that helps to fuel residual income for the people who are sharing about the company. And it also has, if you're interested, a very lucrative compensation plan. So there are really two things we're going to talk about today. This is a company where you can, with a membership, get metals at cost for yourself. And 100% only if you choose, you can also participate in the compensation plan, but that's totally optional and only for people who really are interested in doing that. Some people start off as members and then later they love it so much they become affiliates, and some people do both right out of the gate. So this company offers all of the standard things that any big online or physical gold and silver and bullion store would have. Um, Plus a bunch of other great, like a bunch of other really unique products as well. But if you're into US coins or Canadian, you can get Krugerrands from South Africa. They have all of the coins in our monthly Get Ahead program. Those are certified flawless numismatic coins. So if you're not familiar with that, what that means is that those coins are uncirculated, they've never been used, and they've already been graded, and they have an authenticity on the back where you can scan that code, and it basically has a serial number for every single coin so that you always know that those are 100% legitimate, right? They absolutely cannot be, um, they can't be counterfeit when you have something that's an MS70 or a PR70 coin. Also generic bars, bullion, things like that. But what's the big deal, right? What's the big deal? What's the difference between, somebody will say, well, I can get it dealer direct. What's the difference between that and at cost? So dealer direct really doesn't mean anything. It just means that a dealer bought it and they're selling it direct to you. That has no bearing at all on the pricing that they're offering it to you. You have no idea what they paid for it. They're just saying, hey, I'm a dealer and I'm directly selling it to you. At cost, on the other hand, that means that the dealer, whatever the dealer paid for those coins or those bars, they are passing that exact cost on to you, right? Sounds a little too good to be true. Like that was my thing. How could they possibly do that? How could you have a sustainable business model if you're selling it at cost? Well, we're going to find out a little bit how that works, but I want you to do this. In fact, I made Jim, who is always looking at this stuff anyway, do this for you today. So in May of 2024, when we're recording this, this was a real-time comparison of the most commonly traded 1 ounce coin in the world, right? Our coin was selling through at cost metals for $31.54, and two other big online companies, 36.57 and 37.74. And so I encourage and challenge all of you to check the prices for yourself. But what does that really mean by percentage? Okay. That means today, if you were to acquire that silver bullion or those silver coins, you would be paying, if you bought those online, 13.76% more. You know, think of how you would jump up and down if I told you you could get 13.7% on your money or 16.4% on your investment. Here you're getting it right out of the gate. Not only will that silver typically appreciate over time, it might go have some ups and downs, but that's going to be more valuable in the future, and you already got it for 12 to 18% less than everywhere else that's selling it. The other thing that you can do with our company is you have access to a vault, right? So you have two options. You can use this vault to store your metals, and you can hold it, it's physically held there, or you can have it shipped to you. When you store it in the vault, if you want to, you can sell it back to the company at any time. So as you're watching the price, they will always have a buyback price. And let's say you did all of a sudden have a huge emergency and you needed that, you could absolutely click on sell. It would sell for that price, and that money would be available to you to do whatever you want with. And the other thing is that this company is allowing fractional pricing, right? Like when I said to you, wouldn't it be great to have, if it's $31 for an ounce of silver and it's $2,200 for an ounce of gold, a lot of you are going to say, I don't have $2,200 today to buy an ounce of gold. But you could take that same $31 or $32 and you could start applying it to an ounce of gold. And once it's built up to the price of to where you own a full ounce, then you could choose to have it shipped at that time. But you can save fractionally, which is amazing. The why vault it? The biggest reason to vault is because you have more liquidity, right? Like if you wanted to sell it, you could do it immediately. This company has state-of-the-art, the highest possible vault rating. I mean, they're insured against terrorism. If I was somebody who wanted to vault, I would feel completely at ease with using the vaults that they have available. I know how long they've been in business. I know, nobody knows where they are because the privacy is very important, but they have everything in play to feel secure about doing the vaulting. I tend to be really, I'm somebody who's just old school that way. I like to see it. I like to hold it. I like to know that I own it. And so, at least in the beginning, when I started our gold and silver savings, when we started our precious metal savings, we loved having it delivered, right? It doesn't mean you have to have it delivered each and every time, but we maybe would use the vault more to grow some for a while and then have a bigger shipment made because it doesn't cost more to have, a few ounces shipped versus 1 ounce. But the other great thing with this company is that when they ship something to you, just like the metals are at cost, the shipping is at cost as well. They're never going to make money on that shipping either. So if this makes sense to you, then let's talk a little bit about the packages and how people get compensated when they share with other people. Basically, this works the same as other memberships, where you purchase a membership and that allows you special perks, extras, things that other people that would walk into that same store or company wouldn't have, right? So we really have two main packages. The $149 metals package gives you 1 year of unlimited at cost pricing, right? Of your physical precious metals, of bullion. It also gives you access to great pricing on collectible products. So remember how I said, how could a company sell only at cost metals? They make money two ways. They make money because they offer the memberships. Everybody buying the membership, um, that creates income for the company. And we also do have some specialty collectible coins and bullions that will be sold above cost. And that's always really clear to you. And one thing I will say to you, who is this not for, right? If you're somebody who thinks, I might want an ounce or two of silver, or I might want to buy one thing for my grandchildren before Christmas, then I would say to you, if you're not somebody who wants to regularly accumulate and acquire bullion, if you're not committed to also using it as a way to create a business for yourself, then this wouldn't make sense to you, right? Because you need to be buying enough gold and silver and platinum and palladium that you more than recoup the cost of the package, or you're seeing the package as a business expense. I mean, it is a pretty inexpensive way to start a business. So as well, I guess you could look at it that way. I don't know about Jeremy, but I don't think I've started any businesses for $399. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. But I am just saying, like, if you're somebody who says, I would never share this with anybody, I want 2 coins ever, then I'm just going to tell you right now, this would not be there. There are other ways you can take the information we gave you and you can go out and look for other ways to buy silver and gold. But if you're somebody who says, this makes sense to me, I want to start saving in a way where I see my wealth growing. I see it in front of me month after month after month, and I don't feel like I have to dig into my emergency fund all the time because here it is, it's growing. Then these packages are right for you. What is the difference? The $149 package gives you that at cost pricing for 1 year, gives you the vaulting for 1 year, and it gives you access to those specialty collectible products as well. The big difference between that and the $399 Metals Plus package, which is a much better deal because that gives you 18 months of the vaulting, 18 months of the at cost pricing. And it gets you started right out of the gate by sending you 3 perfect MS70 graded numismatic silver coins. And those are the best. Those are, historically speaking, those are the best ones to have. They are the most easy to resell. And they also appreciate more in value than other typical coins in the same class. And that's also what's in our $75 Get Ahead monthly program. Here's what we know. When people automate their savings, they always save more, probably double than if they don't. You can tell yourself, oh, I'm going to do this on the 10th of every month. But what do you know? On the 10th, you say, oh, it's a Sunday, so I'll wait until Monday. Oh, the 10th comes and, oh, my car insurance is due this time. And before you know it, you'll be committed to doing it on the 10th of every month. And if it's not automated, you might do it 50% of the time. If it's automated, that's just going to show up in your mailbox every single month, month after month after month, and you're collecting. So please know that we're going to talk a little bit about the income portion and how people make money. I'm going to go into that more specifically. But right now, if you're someone who's been invited by another person to find out about why to save in gold and silver, why precious metals now, and why this company, right? The reason why is because you have the chance to take the expertise of people in this industry who created an opportunity for you to buy metals 100% at the cost. Let Just to put it in perspective, when we talk to the CEO, the reason they can do the at cost pricing is because their purchases are in the millions of dollars every time, often in the tens of millions. Because I said, well, I had some people in our former business that had a 7-figure purchase. And so I said to the CEO, well, would they be able to get an even better pricing structure? Would they be able? And he said, listen, we can't even do business with these companies if we don't bring tens of millions of dollars to the table to get this kind of pricing. So that's why you're able to get this often 12 to 18% off what everybody else is selling for in the marketplace. And so that's why we think this company makes sense. No matter what, I think it makes sense for you to get into precious metals. And if you want to do it regularly, then get back to the person that invited you and they have a code that they can share with you, and they're going to help you get started with your package. All right. And from there, if you also are somebody who wants to share with others, in addition to just getting those metals at cost, there is additionally an income opportunity. So if you're a person who already has your package today, you're already in and you're set up, then you are welcome to stay with us. And we're going to go through the specifics about the compensation. And if you still need to get set up, just know that we do this regularly, and you can get hooked up with the person that invited you and get all ready to go, and then come back and find out exactly how you can take this membership. There's no additional cost to you. Once you have the membership and you're saving, there's no additional cost to participate in the business portion. So let's go on it now, and we'll talk about that. So just know that anytime that you start a business, right? Like, I feel like I shouldn't have to do the income disclosure, but I always do it, right? Like, because here's what we know. There are people sometimes that have represented an opportunity, and people think, this is how I always summarize the income disclosure. You don't get something for nothing. That's what I wish I could write just that sentence, but what it really means is there's a fantastic business opportunity here, but the results will only be there for the people that work at their business skills, who have a little ambition, who put some time and commitment and effort into this, and who routinely share with others. It will always be the people who talk to the most people that have the greatest results. So let's talk a little bit about how one of the things I'm going to do with all of you tonight is I'm going to try to give you some really great visuals around how this works. Within the income structure, there are 3 ranks right now. That's the simplest I have ever seen in a networking business. I mean, I think I've been in one in the past that had about 18. If you've ever done any network marketing or affiliate marketing, you're going to think this is the simplest thing I've ever seen. So there are 3 ranks: affiliate, silver, and gold. Everybody begins when you have your package, you're just unranked. Okay. And so tonight I'm going to go mostly over the affiliate, because everybody gets there through the affiliate program. And the way I look at it is this: when you have one referral on your left and on your right, this is basically a structure that has 2 sides. There's nothing complicated about it. Once you've done that, you position yourself to earn up to $2,000 every week. Is there anybody here who would be unhappy with $2,000 every week? If you have to, if you can't abide with only $2,000 a week, then you have to wait till next week, where I'll talk more about the 10,000. So, but for now, let's talk about very specifically what this means. When we start building a structure, this is you, okay? Everybody is just the top of their own structure. So you go out and you talk to your friend Anne, and you say, Anne, I have found something. I remember your husband saying once he sure liked gold. I was thinking you might like to hear more about getting some gold at cost. How would that sound to you? You want to watch a webinar. So you send them, and Anne says, hey, we're all into this. We've been buying at online store A, and this is better pricing, so we're in. So there's Anne, and she's on your left. And then you start talking to more people, and you start inviting people. And the next time you go to put someone in, wait, what happened? All of a sudden, who's this Zach person? I don't know a Zach. How did Zach land here? Who is Zach? And so instead, you're talking to Brad and you still get Brad signed up and you're like, I don't even know what happened here. I knew I needed one person right and I needed one person left and I've got them, but there's this other dude in the middle. What happened? No matter what, your first action, find a new member for each side of your business, for the left and for the right. And next, the next thing that you do, now you go back to Ann and to Brad and you say, hey, let's start talking to some people. Let's bring them and have an expert answer their questions. And you help them do the same, because then look what happens. You turned blue because you're now an affiliate. You got somebody on the left and on the right. And remember what happens when you rank as an affiliate, you're now eligible, not guaranteed, but you're eligible to make up to $2,000 every single week. Here's this Zach guy again. What is with him? Zach is all in pink because he's what we call love from above. All right. Love from above means somebody else in the organization that was busy sponsoring. You know, if you were sponsored by Jeremy, it might be Jeremy still working and putting people down on underneath there. It might be me. It might be the person who sponsored me. We only can put people left and right. So if I've brought in over a dozen people, they have to go somewhere and they just keep kind of falling in. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you about this is that there are people out there that tell you you can grow a whole business with this. And I'm going to tell you, you cannot. Love from above is exactly that. It is a gift. You should be so grateful for it. You should honor it, love it, try to give it to other people, but you should never expect it. Because if you expect it, you'll be disappointed. And because I will tell you this too, I have grown multi-million-dollar organizations. Sometimes I've had it and sometimes I haven't. So ultimately, your success depends upon you, but when you can do it cooperatively, it's even better. Okay. So you've got Ann over here on your other side. And now you know, because somebody fell into your organization, you know that this side that Ann is on, that's your personal team. Nobody's ever going to fall in there. That's the side you will always have to build yourself. That is the team that you will be responsible for it. Other people are going to build underneath there, but you're not going to have anything that comes in from above. Whereas on the side that Brad is on, we'll talk about it in a minute, but see the other thing too, see how these are still white? Ann and Brad, because they haven't sponsored anyone yet, they haven't brought anyone in, they're unranked right now. Okay, so as long as they're unranked, until they have somebody left and somebody right, the only way they can earn is by directly sponsoring somebody. They can't get in on the other ways of earning. But here, where we had this whole line with Zach and with Brad, that's your community team. Okay, so that's the one that typically grows faster. You almost have, you're kind of, for most people, most of the time, you will have one side of your business. Like if you've ever been in networking, people use words like binary. All binary is like bicycle. It just means two, like two wheels, two sides. So this has two sides. And people have other names sometimes for the legs, but what we really like to see them as two teams. One's a community team and the other one is your personal. You have to really nurture that a little bit more and you might work a little harder on that side. But what would this look like? If this was your first week and you came in and you wanted to become an affiliate, you did it. There you are in blue as an affiliate. And you brought in Ann and Brad. And right out of the gate, Ann said, I really don't, I'm kind of low on cash right now. I can do the metals package just for a year. So you got an upfront direct commission of $25. Brad did the metals plus package that gave you an up direct commission of $50. So that means that your weekly compensation this very first week, you made $75. Well, that's nothing to sneeze at, right? But it's not going to retire you yet. And so the other way that this starts to build points and build money for you in the long run is this. In addition to those direct commissions that you got for the membership, Ann's package also made 50 points. Brad's package, the Metals Plus package, made 50 points. Zach, who you don't even know where he came from, but he appeared in your organization. Zach's Metals Plus package also brought you 100 points. Okay. And so for the week, you ended up with 50 points on the left and 200 points on the right. Now, that didn't pay you yet this very first week, but you're banking points toward next week, toward the future. And as soon as you reach 500 points on each side, left and right, that gives you $500. So really those 250 points that you got this week are worth $250 in value to you. And a lot of times when I'm thinking ahead and I look at how many points that I have that have grown, I always think, ooh, I'm sitting on the potential for, if I have 10,000 points on one side, I realize, whoa, that's 10,000, that means $10,000 to me as soon as I have that on the other side. And when I'm always focused on how much money I'm leaving on the table, I always look at how much is there so that I know how much more I need to grow. And so when I say that as an affiliate, you can make up to $2,000 a week, it means that you can do one of those $500 cycles 4 times. And then basically, as you move up the ranks into silver and into gold, the income amounts just go up, right? You go up to, as a silver, up to $10,000 a week, and as a gold, up to $30,000 a week. And really, it's all about, though, just duplicating and replicating this. So I don't like to make it too complicated, because if you go back here, it's really what I said, which is just find a new member on each side, left and right, and next, help them do the same thing. And if you do that, you will never worry about having enough points to have that happen every time. Whoops, sorry, went too fast. So as far as the compensation plan, there's the direct payment, $25 for a metals package, $50 for the metals plus. The other thing that brings you a lot of money in the long run is getting people set up on the Get Ahead monthly coin. You create a community of savers, and that is going to bring you constant long-term residual income. In your back office, once you're signed up, you're going to see it will show you who you've sponsored and whether or not they're saving on the Get Ahead program. If I had somebody that wasn't, I would be talking to them about how important it is, how much more savings they're going to end up with when they put it on an automatic savings plan like that. You also get points when people buy the specialty coins. There are no points to you when people get the at cost metals, because there's nowhere to make money, right? You're getting them at cost. And so that's just the service of being part of the membership. But when people buy specialty things, those are somewhere between 1 and 50 points. Sometimes I get a really weird amount in my points total, and I know it's because somebody bought something in metals that was like 44 points or something, and it just is an unusual amount. But each time you have those team cycles, 500 points, 500 points, you make that $500. That happens for me sometimes now more than once in a day. That can happen. So you're not limited, like it can go quickly. And let's just say, like you had on your first week there, you had 50 points on one side and 200 on the other. Those never go away. Like sometimes businesses like this will talk about expiring points or flushing points or things like that. Your points stay there until they get used by you. The other thing that starts to happen as you grow an organization is a matching bonus. So if you sponsor, so we had Brad there, right? Let's say Brad goes and sponsors Carol and David. And once that happens, his person, Carol, she kind of goes to town and she starts bringing her whole family in, and and then Carol gets one of these $500 cycles. Every time somebody that you bring in has that cycle, you get 10% of it. So you get $50 of it. So if you earn up to 2,000, then potentially you can earn up to $200 a week for each person. Or if they're silver, it's up to 1,000, and so on. And so the other thing that happens, the pot of gold, just say if you want a big, big goal, Jeremy and I talked about it today, the pot of gold bonus is that in this company, obviously there always has to be a position at the very, very top. And most of the businesses that I have ever been in, that top position was the owner of the company, right? And they got all of those bonuses. In this company, they split it. 50% of it goes to, create incentives for the field and have events. And the other 50% of what that position makes gets split among everybody who reaches the gold rank. And right now, that is like that's a handful of people because the company's very new. So there's a huge opportunity for a real go-getter to get to the top and get that pot of gold bonus. And I've never seen a company with an easier ranking system to get to the top. It's pretty easy. This is all the fine print that we will eventually have some meetings and we'll sit down. If people have really in-depth questions about the compensation plan, just know that I've read all these. I have done a deep dive. I'm happy to help you through most of them. But let me point out the one that I think is really important. And I think most of these I mentioned, your points don't reset. One thing that's great to know is the pay period is Sunday to Saturday night Eastern time. So at midnight on Saturday night, that's when you're done earning for that week and you start over on Sundays. Um, the company has a 75% hard cap on commissions. What that means is that they're in it for the long haul. They will never allow their compensation to break. So what that means is that if for some weird reason the payouts ever exceeded 75% of the company's revenue, they wouldn't pay something out. And some people think that's not a great thing. I think that's a fantastic thing because I've been in companies where the growth was so exponential that they imploded. And what this company has done is said, hey, we are in it for the long haul. We're going to make sure we always stay profitable so that our people get paid every single week for a very long time. And that really impresses the socks off of me. The other thing that I'm crazy about is that this is a company who wants leadership from the field. They want the people who are out participating, who are talking to people, who are building an organization. They want them to have input and direction on the company. And so we've had that so far, and I think we're going to continue to be in that group of people that are building something and really, I have like the cell phone of the CEO of the company. So that's a big deal. Like if I need to call him up, I could do it right now. And that's great for the team too, because then we have some special access that not everybody has. So the bottom line is this company's been launched because we know there's a better way to do precious metals and it's at cost, right? We have the best bullion prices, the best compensation plan. We want people to be a part of it, not only because we think it's great to have the diversification of gold and silver as part of your growing portfolio, but more than that, I wanted the opportunity to be able to leverage my experience, my decades in this, in this realm and the whole network we've built previously. I said to Jeremy, it would just be awesome to take people that I know want to steward their money, grow their money, have a business that's really paying them back, and leverage us to help you build it, right? By having the videos, by having the chance to ask questions, all of those things we want to promote on your behalf. So let's go and let's tear it up. The other thing I wanted to share with you, I know we had a couple of questions from people around like saying, listen, I am all in. I want gold. I want silver. I want to be saving. I want to build a business. I have no idea what I do next. Now what? I'm in. I have my package. What do I do? I'm going to really encourage you to make this a lot simpler than you think it has to be, right? Less is truly more about this because here's what I know from a ton of experience. If you haven't been in precious metals for a long time and it is brand new to you, or you have, like what I used to say, if you know enough to be dangerous, which is me about most things, then you don't want to get into big in-depth conversations with people. Because I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people who like precious metals, number one, they're super private and they don't want to tell you anything about what they're stacking or what they're doing. Number two, they are geeked out on YouTube all day long and they know all the things. And so they're going to like drop things to try to trip you up if they don't think that's your expertise. So don't try to pretend if it isn't. If it is, fantastic. But your basic goal is to be an inviter, right? Like you share by inviting. I would literally say to somebody, hey, what do you know about saving in precious metals? And the reason I say, I mean, you can say, obviously you can be a great listener. If somebody says something about it, I would be all over it. If somebody mentions about it, I would take my coins and I would show them to people and I would say, hey, do you have anything like this? Have you ever collected silver? What do you know about saving in precious metals? And most of the time, people are going to say, nothing. I have no idea. Sounds good, but I don't know anything about it. And then that's where you say, if I could show you a company where you could buy metals at cost, would you be interested in finding out more about that? If they say no, next, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Big deal. Uh, Move on. Like one of the best things about this, imagine when you're marketing things like makeup or weight loss or vitamins, like you take the population at large and you start getting smaller and smaller and smaller about who you can talk to. I'm pretty much sure that everybody uh, has money and works with money and needs more money. And so because of that, you're not at all limited. Young, old, doesn't matter what. I mean, it just doesn't matter. Race, religion, income, it doesn't matter because you can buy like even for me before I was in gold. So even in small denominations, gold was pretty expensive. You can buy a silver half ounce for like 15 bucks. So I'm pretty sure if people can get a couple coffees, they can get started in silver if that's what they choose to do. So it's your mission to connect and not to be the expert, right? So when somebody asks you a question and you have no idea what to say, or maybe you think you know, like, oh, I think I know the answer to that. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a nurse or a teacher or you're retired, people know you as the thing you've already been, right? Like, hey, even Jesus had trouble in his own hometown, right? Like in my own circle, I've been doing this for 20 years and people still sometimes would rather hear it from somebody else. So, what I say to people is, you know what? I'm so new to this and I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So, I'd love to connect you with an expert. I think I know the answer to your question, but I just don't want to be wrong. So, let me connect you to an expert that I know will be able to help you. I've been doing this forever, but lately I've been connected with somebody that is just really in the know. So let me connect you to somebody who's an expert and give you the best possible service. So it is the only time in history where you get paid to invite people and play dumb. And that is basically your full success strategy to build like wildfire is just, I can tell you right now, the person who invites the most people to the party are the ones who rank up the fastest and who are making the most money. So I hope that really helps you with how you can start sharing with people and really what your next steps are. But it is as simple as find one person left and right and then help those people do the same. And that will get you all the way to the second rank. All right. I hope that helps everybody.